Okay, so I'm going to be doing a few tutorials about a number of different details and things that we need to be aware of when we are working with typography and with icons. And for these tutorials, as the material of these tutorials, I'm actually going to use your work. So I'm going to go over the things that we looked at in class and that I made corrections for in class and redo the corrections here as a reminder to you, and also to maybe add some things that I forgot about, that I forgot to talk about when I was correcting your work in front of you. So for this first one, I'm going to use two logotypes. The one on top here is made by Bengisu, and the one on the bottom here is made by Simai. And I'm going to use these two logos to go over a number of different things. And for the first one here, I'm actually going to go over the history palette and just step by step and explain to you the things that I did. So the first thing that I thought that I should do that would help this logotype would be to increase the contrast of the font weights between these two words, because the way that they are right now, they are too close together. So these are two words, umumi is one word, karga is another word, but since the two weights are very close to each other, we can't really read them as two separate words. So she's using Ubuntu, and so I'm going to use Ubuntu as well. I'm not going to make a change with that. So the first thing that I did is I changed Umumi from Ubuntu regular to Ubuntu Lite. And then the second thing that I did is I changed Karga from Ubuntu Medium to Ubuntu Bold. So now what we have here is actually an increased contrast that is already making it much easier to read these two words as two separate words. But then the next thing that I did is I increased the space between the word I and K to make it about equal to what we have here. And then I played with the kerning. So let me just come back here and let me actually zoom in. So what we had before was that we had quite a bit of more space between the R and the G, and also a little bit more space between the A and the G. So what I did is I moved these closer together. So now the R and the G are closer to each other, and the A and the G are closer to each other. Now when we come over here, all of this looks fine. I mean, the kerning here looks fine, and now this looks okay as well. Then the next thing that I did is I decided that this very funny crow needs to have its own living space. It needs to have more space. It needs to breathe more. It needs to become more apparent. So I moved both of these words over a bit so that I have more space here. Then I added a new layer and I put a separator. So I just used the line tool and I drew a straight line, which is a bit longer, well, quite a bit longer actually than these elements here, because I think it does need to have a strong separator like this. If it was a short one, it might not work quite like this. Then I moved it over a bit, closer to here, nudged the crow a bit more. Then I made the crow bigger, because I think it can use getting bigger. Then I made something deliberately wrong to show you that this wouldn't work. I tried to align the bottom of the crow with the bottom of the text. But because the crow is a round shape, it's an amorphous shape rather, not round, but amorphous. These kinds of shapes do not really align themselves very well from the top or the bottom. You usually need to go to the middle in order to get a good alignment. So I added a new guide, which initially I put here to show you what I had done, but then I dragged the guide to the middle, and then I move the crow to the middle, and there you have it. That's the new logo. So that was Bengisus, and now let's continue on to Simais. So the second logo that I corrected in class yesterday was made by Simai. It's this one right here. And so I'm going to go over what I did in class again and show you how this can be made much better. Now, the big problem here is that these three elements, the word karga, the word umumi, and the crow, don't really work together as a whole. And one of the reasons for that is that when you write the word karga in lowercase, and then you have the stem coming up, because the letter K in lowercase has an ascender. So you're going to end up with quite a bit of awkward space here. Inevitably, you're inevitably going to end up with that. And there could be different kinds of tricks to fix that. One of them would obviously be to make this all uppercase, like so, except she's using a handwritten font, and handwritten fonts cannot really be used in all uppercase outside of very rare exceptions, because they will become completely illegible, as you can see here. So she's using archivo here for this one, so I could change this to archivo as well, and she's using the expanded version. So let's see, I don't want to use the expanded version because that would make it too wide, I think. I just think I want to use the regular, normal version. So let's just go with medium, or actually let's go with bold. And we need to decrease the font size here a bit. So if she makes this all uppercase, like I did here, then you no longer have that awkward space that comes from the lowercase letters. And so now these two things are actually working better together because we don't have that awkward space. And then basically what she could do is she could just move this to a better location, or she could also keep it, because actually where it is after I've made this change doesn't really look that bad, except it might need to get a bit bigger so that it has more presence. And then this might actually work. And another thing that she could do is she could make an alignment between some of the letters up here and some of the letters down here. So what looks to me like could be a really good point of alignment would be the M and the R. So if I move this over here, or even like so, so that this side of the M aligns with this side of the R, that actually doesn't look too bad. But then when I did this, I noticed that I could maybe also do something with this here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to align this with this, then go to umumi and start playing with the kerning a bit, which right now is just 0. But if I decrease the kerning, then this M could nicely align with this. So let's see, -10, -25 might just work. Oops. Yeah, no, I'm still in the right place. Yep. Almost. We're almost there. With these things, you sometimes have to go back and forth. So I think I need to just go down to maybe 20. And there you have it. So here the M is aligning with this, and this is aligning with this, and also, like a nice little bonus, this is almost aligning with the tip here. So this would be one way of doing it. But I'm still not quite happy with how this crow is sitting here. Is that really the good place for the crow? Let's see. So let me do actually what I did with Bengisu here. Let me separate the crow. Let me give the crow its own little living area. So I'm going to scale these down. Let's see. What could I do? One of the things I could do here is I could create a box for the crow. And just open up the rulers so that I can well, it almost seems to be right. Let me actually zoom in. Get rid of the stroke here. Need to zoom in just a tad, and then just a tad like this. Now let's take the crow and make it white, which I can just do by pressing Ctrl U, and that opens up the hue saturation palette, because this is actually a bitmap, which it shouldn't be. It should always be vector, but that's how Simai brought it in. So I now made it white, and now I'm just going to give it a nice little home. So that could be one thing I could do, but I'm going to do other things as well. So I'm going to stop this video here, and then I'm going to come back, just scale this up a bit so that we can see it in comparison to Bengisu's. Also get rid of the rulers, make the screen almost full screen. So here we have both of them. In their new look. And the one down here with Bengisu I'm going to use for the second part of this tutorial in just a minute.